I feel miserable and powerless, this man says. I've never experienced anything like it.
Authorities say this is the biggest police operation in Munich in a decade. The entire transport system in the city is shut down. This is the second attack in Germany in less than a week.
And I think the atmosphere 1 year ago and today is totally different.
A police spokesperson says, quote, "The shooting looks like a terror attack."
Nonetheless, Europe has become a continent that really, there's a growing culture of fear here, and there's a lot of fear that a new era is beginning in Europe, where these attacks are just going to become more frequent.
It's becoming a pattern all too familiar now. An individual, often with a petty criminal background, wages an attack on civilians.
Following all the leads that they have and obviously taking every precaution, and in doing so they've essentially shut down the city of Munich, told people not to go outside.
Now, over in Turkey, that country woke up this Thursday to find itself locked in a 3-month state of emergency.
Within hours, the French president was promising extra powers to the security services.
L'état d'urgence. A state of emergency will be proclaimed, which means that certain public places will be closed, traffic can be stopped, and searches ordered throughout France.
They say, across the world, there's a temptation to take a major security turn, if you could call it that way, and a security turn that, would curb other freedoms.
But human rights groups and lawyers say that people's freedoms are being abused.
The state of emergency worries me, mainly because I see it as a questioning of democracy and of fundamental rights.
So far, the powers have been extended 3 times. With the French president promising to use everything to fight terrorism, the state of emergency is starting to feel like the new normal.
It's funny, I don't know why I'm going to say this. I'm actually working with somebody, and because I'm personally interested in this, and I mean, it's going to sound, weird that, TMZ, we talk about privacy issues all the time, because there are zones of privacy. And this is something that Congress is getting involved in. And I know this because I'm kind of working too with some of them, because they're wondering, with technology and all the things that go on in the world, where is privacy in the world? Where is it now? And the fact that people are allowed to have phones in the gym, but these phones all have cameras, it's just one of the elements of this new world order.
Teachers at an all-female school in Sydney have been told to stop referring to their students as girls, ladies or women.
A leading Sydney girls' school is being investigated for political correctness. The Daily Telegraph is reporting today. Teachers at Cheltenham Girls High have been told to stop calling the students girls, ladies or women. Instead, they have to use gender-neutral terms, I guess, like, good morning humans, female humans.
News Corp reports that teachers were told they would be breaking the law and considered homophobic if they didn't support the decision.
Honestly, this is taking PC to the being politically correct, to the absolute ridiculous. How can you teach a classroom, what doesn't actually happen in the real world? For me, language is something that there's a problem when it is used. It goes to motive. If it's used in a discriminatory manner, then we have a problem. But using words like girls, I call all my friends guys, crew, gang. Do you know what I mean? I'm not speaking them as though a crew or they're a gang. I just think it's ridiculous, and it's laughing in the face of what happens in the real world.
Yeah. Completely. I mean, I'm all for gender equality, and I think it's great that it starts in school, that you shouldn't, at a girls' school, they should be taught you're not a second-class citizen and you shouldn't feel put in a little box because you're a girl. But that doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge the fact that you are female, and using words like women, ladies, girls, whatever. I mean, that's just a biological description. That's not a negative. What we should be saying to girls is it's okay that you're a woman. We don't have to pretend you're not a woman.
Gender-neutral looks are all the rage at many fashion brands, and it seems this isn't a trend. Unisex may be here to stay. Let's start with how quickly unisex fashion has caught on lately. Tell us some of the bigger brands now embracing this look.
Really big brands. Zara has is going into its 2nd season with its unisex or gender-free or genderless or ungendered, whatever word you want to use with it. Some smaller brands, Bethnals out of London, Dr. Denim out of Sweden. This really is a global phenomenon, by the way.
After 5 years of delays, a national education law will finally be implemented in California. It includes teaching history of the LGBT rights movement as early as second grade.
Covering Brevard County, the school board's anti-discrimination policy includes sexual orientation and now gender identity. If you were watching Eyewitness News at 4, you know the controversial change passed narrowly.
Unfortunately, today's discussion on updating equal opportunity and/or non-discrimination policies would allow a boy to blatantly lie in order to go into the girls' locker room to lust after them, which is precisely what the slaveholders did. No girl should worry about, or worse, feel the probing eyes of a lusting boy in her locker room.
All children, especially the vulnerable like our LGBT students, deserve to be in a safe, free zone from bullying. No child goes to school to be judged, bullied, and called abominations, sinners, and other hateful rhetoric.
The NBA's All-Star Weekend brings the best in basketball and can bring the host city upwards of $100 million in business. But next year, it won't be in Charlotte. In a statement, the NBA said, "We do not believe we could successfully host our All-Star festivities in the climate created by HB2. Governor Pat McCrory signed the law in March. It blocks certain protections for LGBT people and mandates which public restrooms transgender people can use. Today, the governor stood firm.
In any decision I make, I pick common sense values to protect our children in our schools over money.
It affects everybody, not just downtown city, but the gas station, the convenience stores, everything down here. We lost business because of it.
Moreno Valley firefighter Eric Hilley is so passionate about supporting the fallen officers of Baton Rouge and Dallas police, he bought this flag and added a blue line to it shortly after the shootings.
It's a tough time right now in this country for law enforcement.
That's why Eric says he placed the flag on the back of the CAL FIRE Riverside County fire engine he works on. When division chiefs heard about the flag and blue stripe on the door, they told Eric to take them down. He says right now the country is dealing with unusual violence directly aimed at first responders.
And we felt that the method and the flag that was displayed was a threat to the firefighters.
They ask questions that sound a little bit like science fiction, but many of them are becoming science fact very quickly. Do you think, I mean, you're actually pushing, the science forward. Do you think the consequences are well understood, the sort of leveling of the plate?
Yeah, I don't think we understand. I mean, luckily for us, we sort of sidestep in regenerative medicine. We get a chance to sidestep this issue for a little while longer because it's still a bit of a hypothetical question. Can we grow body parts that are... Right now, we're just trying to catch up to what nature can do. And so for a while, we get the chance to I think similar to people in AI, to get a chance to say, oh, we're just trying to catch up to what nature can do. But eventually, it's going to catch up to us, and we'll have to start answering these questions. Do we want to enhance and do more than what nature can do?
It turns out that the really intelligent people are the only ones who actually get the boost. And suddenly there is kind of a superpower that you could have just for a small few. That would be really remarkable. It would be contra everything we've learned so far, but it would be remarkable and it might change the conversation somewhat. But I think, from my perspective, what I'd rather do, rather than putting the brakes on it, is increase access and availability so
Even
that
if that entails a little bit of creative destruction.
Well, why would it cause creative destruction?
Now, one of the things that I have learned about Hillary Clinton is that one of her heroes, her mentors, was Saul Alinsky. And her senior thesis was about Saul Alinsky. This was someone that she greatly admired and that affected all of her philosophies subsequently. Now, interestingly enough, let me tell you something about Saul Alinsky. He wrote a book called Rules for Radicals. On the dedication page, it acknowledges Lucifer, the original radical who gained his own kingdom. Now think about that. This is a nation where our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, talks about certain inalienable rights that come from our Creator. This is a nation where our Pledge of Allegiance says we are one nation under God. This is a nation. This is a nation where every coin in our pocket and every bill in our wallet says, "In God we trust." The secular progressive agenda is antithetical to the principles of the founding of this nation. And if we continue to allow them to take God out of our lives, God will remove himself from us. We will not be blessed, and our nation will go down the tubes. And Thomas Jefferson said that we would reach this point because we the people would not be paying attention, and it would allow the government to grow, to expand, and to metastasize, and to try to rule us. But he said, before we turn into something else, we the people would recognize what was going on, what we were about to lose, and we would rise up and we would take control of our nation. And I say now is the time for us to rise up and take America back.
So what in the world could it be? Loud noises that sound like explosions, and they have plagued the Alhambra community for months now.
Loud explosions are being reported in Alhambra, but no one knows where they're coming from.
This mystery has baffled residents who really want some answers.
Well, what I hear is a kind of a boom, but it's a kaboom. It's really big and strong.
It does shake the windows. I've heard car alarms be set off.
That's bizarre, right?
The entire city council even heard it.
And all of a sudden we hear this loud, sharp explosion. Very quick, and we all flinched.
The city contacted the LA Department of Public Works and even seismologists at Caltech, but no one can figure it out.
We want to know what it is, just so we can get to the bottom of it.
Meanwhile, people in Alhambra are speculating online and looking at similar cases from across the country, including Arizona.
Call it the case of the mystery booms.
It's like a rumbling. I can feel it, like... Boom, hear that? What the hell is that? All the dogs are barking on the block. Weird. This is just bizarre. What time is it? 9:11? 9:12? What in the world? Can you feel it like all the way through your chest? What is that? It's like breathing.
Biologist Don Kramer is searching this small Dallas Road beach for dead seabirds, and it only takes moments to find them.
So there's one there. Oh, and I see there's another one on the beach down there.
A retired professor, Kramer now monitors seabird fatalities in Victoria for Bird Studies Canada.
So this is the species that people have been saying has been turning up dead quite often.
And at least 20 have been found dead on Victoria beaches in the past week.
That would be extremely unusual to find that number of dead birds.
And as Kramer combs the beach here, the number climbs even higher.
It's all one species.
From his first look, Kramer says the birds appear in good shape, like they aren't starving and like they died very recently.
So there's something happening.
Scientists say it's too early to tell if this is the beginning of a large die-off event. But since seabirds are an indicator of ocean health, what exactly has happened to these ones could be a sign of a much deeper problem.
That's the concern, is that this might be just the start of something that's larger, and it's important to document at the beginning.
Well, it's a mysterious and disturbing discovery on Okanagan Lake. Scores of dead fish. The kokanee were first spotted a few days ago, and now provincial fisheries biologists are trying to determine the cause of the die-off. But as Blaine Gaffney reports, it isn't believed to be the result of human activity.
We head out on the lake and noticed the kill-off of these fish, which we were quite alarmed.
Thresher scooped some into a net.
They're about 6-inch kokanee, and they're right across the lake, both sides, and in masses.
Thresher says the discovery was worrisome.
Being startled, and of course you immediately think that the lake's been poisoned or something, but then we realized that it was just this particular species of fish. They look fine. They look fine.
Except that they're dead.
Except that they're dead, yeah, but they're not scarred up.
Provincial fisheries biologists haven't pinpointed the cause of the kokanee kill.
Okay, Donnie, in a related story here tonight, a second fish kill of the year by mid-July now has a riverkeeper quite concerned tonight. This all started last week, and you can still see the hundreds of dead fish.
We've seen a really interesting diversity of species.
But he says the number could reach as high as 1 million.
It worries me, when we see the fish kills becoming more severe.
Tonight, a horrific discovery in this creek. Dozens and dozens of dead birds found along the banks.
Heather, neighbors have no idea what's going on. They're trying to get to the bottom of this right now. Nancy Chinevere has lived along the creek for 11 years, some of her neighbors 2 decades longer. And no one remembers seeing birds dying in such large numbers.
It's just nature, and it's beautiful. And when something like this happens, it's traumatic. It's very upsetting. Floating ducks, dying ducks, ducks on the shore, ducks everywhere. They were dead.
Right now on Virginia Beach, some residents are wondering what killed hundreds of fish near the Stumpy Lake spillway.
Long sent 10 on your side photos after noticing them on an early morning run at the Virginia Beach Chesapeake line.
I first noticed the stench when I was about halfway from that curve over there at Elbow Road, and it was just overwhelming. And then I got here and I saw the many piles, and I figured something was up.
She'd never seen anything like it in her 2 years in the area.
This is the 5th year of an ongoing drought, so we have very extreme fire behavior. I recognize for some of our citizens, they've seen fires before, but these are not normal times.
I've been in the fire service for 38 years. We've never had this kind of experience in June and July, and that's a testimony to what we're going through.
The fire is so intense, it's blackened the skies of Los Angeles, more than 30 miles away.
And can you imagine being stuck outside in this? The severe storms that just rolled through just over the Colorado border from Wyoming this week.
This is home video of the storm shot by Terry Staggy. You can see his son running to move his pickup to protect it from the hail. As he drove it to the other side of the house, the heavens let loose.
I've never seen anything like it.
But longtime residents tell me it's the worst hailstorm they've ever seen.
We've known for a long time that extreme events, especially with weather, have posed a risk to human property and societies and individuals. In recent years, though, the cost of these extreme events has been increasing fairly steadily. What we do know is that climate change is increasing the frequency or intensity of some types of extreme events. And in fact, previous reports here from the academies reviewing literature have looked at the long-term trends and have concluded that heat waves are becoming more severe and that extreme rainfall events are increasing.
And if any of you need to use the restrooms, and if you have any questions, go to the Philadelphia Convention where all the Democrats are.
Well, there is some truth to that joke made by Governor Pat McCrory last night. The DNC is making sure members of the LGBT community are comfortable. Special bathrooms have been set up that'll accommodate people who are transgender. This picture was posted on social media today. It's a sign for an all-gender restroom. According to CBS, 5% of the bathrooms at the DNC are set up this way. A spokesperson for the DNC says the Democratic Convention is committed to making this the most inclusive and engaging convention in history.
Well, as it stands now, being transgender, according to the World Health Organization, is a mental illness, but that classification could soon change. The organization is preparing a new edition of the International Classification of Diseases, or ICD.
We saw at the peak a 32.7% increase in homicides on March 31st when I got my daily crime statistics.
They were alarmingly bad. You know, we were seeing crime numbers that we hadn't seen for a decade.
Cynthia, shooting deaths are up 78% as compared to this time last year for police officers in Kansas City, Kansas.
I don't think I realized that it had increased by that much in shooting deaths, but it does kind of make you think and say, hey, our nation is going through some things right now.
Every week, pretty much something happens. If not, we have a lot of rowdy behavior, people shouting at each other, fights out there.
These are the worst increases in crime rates that we've ever seen, and some suburbs have been hit with crime increases of 25% or more.
Julie Comitos lived nearby for 9 years. Her home was recently looted, and she says crime in the area's never been this bad.
It's devastating to come home and find yourself in that situation. You get that uneasy feeling around here now, and you hear more and more often of different things happening.
It's a sound we're used to hearing at airports and courthouses, but the Orange County Fair?
Things have changed. The world has become a different place.
This year, for the first time, everyone who walks into the OC Fair has to go through a metal detector and have their bags checked.
It's so sad what's going on. It seems like every day you wake up and there's more shootings going on.
I'm concerned, and I am looking around, and I am a little bit more cautious of what's going on.
We actually came out here and noticed that there's a lot of security out here, and I think it's a safe environment.
So when people go by now and see the Christian flag flying, all we're asking them to do is to take 5 to 10 minutes and pray for our country, pray for our servicemen, pray for our police officers, pray for our firefighters, people that's there to protect me, you, and everyone around us.
A message of love, Ross says, is needed for any change to happen.
Let's get back on track. Let's think of our neighbor. Let's love each other again. Quit the hating. The hating has to stop.
Well, newer technology that uses fingerprints and scans of our eyes offers an easier way to keep your information secure and is becoming more widely used.
If you have a pet, you may have gotten a microchip implanted in case they get lost or stolen.
But now, believe it or not, humans are getting chips too. It's a science fiction scenario that has now come to life.
Inside the airport, the gym, and every time you unlock your phone with your finger, there's new technology at work to verify your identity. Soon, your fingerprints, voice, and eyes will be the key to everything from your doctor's office to the ATM. Security experts say it's a problem that's only getting worse.
You can always get a new credit card. You can always create a new password. Really hard to get new fingers, right? You only have 10 of them. And once that information leaks, it's out and there's nothing you can do.